Hey, my name is Blacksfree, and this will be another review video on episode 3 of Attack on Titans. What I have to say about this episode is that it was very dark. We got to learn about Historia's past, and kind of a little bit more reasoning on why Rainer and Berthold do what they did. So the first thing I want to talk about in this episode is Historia raised, aka Krista Lentz. The backstory that we're giving to us was that growing up, Krista and her mother were near, but she never gave Krista any attention. Every time Krista seen her mother, she was either reading a book, or at night she'd put on some type of fancy clothes and leave. Krista also stated that her mother was very beautiful. So just put two and two together and you'll find out where her mother goes at night or what she do. I'm not really gonna say it, but yeah, knowing that's most likely how Historia's mom met Historia's father. Later to be revealed, Historia's mom calls Historia's father Master. That's already letting you know that the relationship wasn't a normal boyfriend and girlfriend, husband and wife relationship. It was more like she was just a mere toy to him, and one day she probably accidentally got pregnant, and that led to Historia. And there was no real love in the relationship. Seeing that her mother's a bookworm and only ever read books all the time, Historia picks up a book that her mother was reading and tries to imitate her. She's seen in the books how a normal mother and child relationship is and how they're good and stuff, but hers and her mother's aren't like that. I also want to say something. When I read the manga, they said something that Historia always helped her grandparents on their farm, and on the farm other kids used to throw rocks at her and pick on her, treat her like she wasn't really like one of them, which is a kid, that is. I don't think they put that in this episode. If I'm not wrong, I really don't think they put that in this episode. But they worked her on the farm and she was always working. They also didn't include Historia's older sister. I can say that their relationship was healthy and they genuinely cared for each other. But Historia's sister also had to leave her. And yeah, that didn't get put in this episode. They might include it in the next week's episode. I don't really know. It might just be a manga only thing. One night, Historia's father comes to the home, and Historia said that's the first time she ever seen her father. He's there to take in Historia and live with her. Historia steps outside and it's her mother and like 3 or 4 other men. Those men are of course with Historia's dad, Rod. Historia's mom starts to panic and yelling out that Historia is not her child. Obviously that's a lie. So Historia's dad's just like, if that's not your child, then you have nothing to do with me because you're not my baby mom. You know what I'm saying? So he just says that that woman and that child has nothing to do with me. He's like, okay, you never existed, you never worked for me. And that's when she yells out master. She says master something. But all I know is that she says master. So that lets you know that their relationship wasn't really genuine or real. It wasn't real love. It was just a master servant gets pregnant or whatever. She was just a toy. While that is going on, Historia's mom is being held by the guards so she can't get away. And then after he says that they are nothing to him, they slit her throat. And then she dies. Her last words were, if only you never been born. And that's deep. After that, they get ready to kill Historia, but Historia's dad stopped them and proposed the idea that if Historia was to change her name to Krista Lentz and live a new life, a new quiet life far, far away, then would they spare her? Of course, yeah. So that's where Historia's fake name, Krista Lentz, comes into play. I still want to know how after that day, Historia was able to be happy and smile a lot, even if it was a fake smile. Notice just a little bit on the traitors, Rainer and Berthold. If I pronounced Berthold's name right and didn't butcher it. But I can understand kind of why they did it. They knew that there were a lot of evil and wicked inside of the wall. So when they broke the wall and let the Titans in, some of that evil could have been killed. But the part that's still kind of wrong about that is that, along with that, innocent lives were took. Like Aaron's mom by the Smiling Titan, that was an innocent life. And all those other people that died. Aaron could have also been killed if he wasn't held back. I really want to know how Aaron was able to remember a whole conversation in the state he were in while being abducted. One last thing I want to talk about in this episode is Erwin. We now have a flashback with him. When Erwin was younger in his childhood and he was in school, his father was a teacher. He wanted to ask his father a serious question. But his dad ignored the whole question and didn't answer it and continued class like he wasn't even asked that question by Erwin. When class ended, they were home and him and Erwin were alone. He finally got to answering his question. The reason why he didn't answer it in the class is because it's a very serious topic and not everybody could know the answer of that question. That's just too important or serious to be discussed in front of that large amount of people. But Aaron, being too young, didn't really understand or question why his father waited till they were alone to tell just him. A day later, his father was killed. Now, of course, he was killed by the government because of that theory of his. The theory was, I totally forgot to mention this, Historia tried to hug her mother, and her mother threw her, and her nose was bleeding. Historia was actually happy because that's the first thing her mother actually did to her. Okay, I'm done with that topic now. Can we also talk about how strong Hanji is? She made a table fly just by kicking it, and she destroyed the whole thing. Levi walked in the room, and she said, oh, it was just a bug. Now, of course, we know that's a lie. But Aaron's father said that the history books that were given to classrooms and schools were all full of mysteries and contradictions. Well, that's kind of how it is in real life, too, because, for example, the whole founding of America, some people says it was this person, which is what they teach in schools and everything. And some people say that people were already here before he even came, but whatever. When I kind of think about Erwin and his father's situation, what if he was the reason, or what if he is the reason that his father's dead? It's most likely his fault because his father told him something that he obviously didn't really want too many people to know, or the other kids in his class. And that was a theory that the king had altered all the civilians' memories to make them easier to rule. I kind of believe that, knowing how evil the government in Attack on Titans is. But Erwin went around telling other kids the theory. And then one day he was questioned by some officers. And all of a sudden after that happens, his father didn't come home that night. And his father was allegedly killed in some faraway town. But Erwin believes that the government did it. If he kept his mouth closed, then it probably would have been different. Most likely. But anyways, I don't really think there's nothing else to talk about this episode. This episode wasn't action-packed. It wasn't cool. It was just dark and deep, and I loved it. That doesn't sound right. I'll rephrase that. It was just a deep episode. All in all, it was really good. Comment what you have to say if I missed something. Just whatever you want to comment. Like if you like, subscribe if you're new and want more content from me. And this isn't even Attack on Titans anymore. It's just Attack on Humanity now. And that'll be all.